And thank you guys so much for joining. Whoops. Let me change this. Let me take that off. This is what happens when I don't have Andrew here as my eyes. Let me see. Okay. But I see Teresa I see your Abby. I want to thank you so much for your donation for our rally and mutual aid for East Palestine. The $50 you donated will literally give us the ability to buy 10 cases of water for people in East Palestine. So it means so much to us, and I'm sure it means a lot to my guests as well. Tonight, I have a wonderful woman who you may have seen on Status Quo. She is in East Palestine, and she is a fighter, and she's here to tell her story. So, Krissy, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for covering this. It means the world to us because, mainstream media is painting a totally different picture than what we're actually living in. And if it wasn't for people like you giving us a voice, our stories would not be heard.
Thank you
thank you. And thank you for the donations. To help my town with water. There's so many people that are in need. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Absolutely. And we haven't announced this yet, but we actually are going to be bringing another truckload to Darlington the day before the rally. So we'll do a truckload there and a truckload to you guys. So that way we can help
you all so much.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we're coming from all over the country. We're flying in from Missouri, Boston, Chicago, Harrisburg. Like, we're coming from all over to do this because it is so important. So we could not be more excited. And we are looking forward to July 22nd. So it was so important. Absolutely. I think you're the sixth person in East Palestine I've had on. And I just feel it's so important to keep these stories going. And you are in a serious predicament because you take care of your family, but you also take care of your parents. So what has that been like through the past 4.5 months?
Well, my mom's going to be turning 82, and she has Parkinson's disease and COPD. So my stepfather's 89, and he has the start of dementia. So this has been very difficult for them. The night of the derailment, I didn't get a knock on the door about the evacuation. I had a phone call from a friend asking me where I was. And I said, well, it's 10 o'clock on a Friday night and I'm old. Where do you think I'm at? I'm home. And she said, no, where are you going? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, we've been evacuated. So I called up to the police station, the non-emergency number, and I said, is East Rebecca Street being evacuated? They said, yes, get out. So I had to wake them up. Then my husband I woke him up. My daughter and her boyfriend was already up. We have 2 dogs. So my daughter and her boyfriend took the dogs to his grandmother's in Pennsylvania, not far past Darlington a little bit. And we took my mom and stepdad to a hotel, but it was the coldest night in February. You have to pack their medications, and it's a lot of medications, and get everything for them. So I ran out of the house with no socks, no bra, jacket, bedclothes on, and we went to the hotel. Well, on our way to the hotel, we kept passing first responders um, every so many feet. So, in the middle of trying to pull over for them in the traffic, my husband wrecked the truck. He had to go off into the ditch or hit our car because I had my parents in the car. It's too hard for them to climb up into the truck. So we got to the hotel, was one of the last people to get a room because people were calling ahead. Um, and we watched it unfold on TV, what we could see. You got more information on Facebook than what you did on the actual news channels until like the 11 o'clock news. So
So the
when
police never came to your door.
no, not the night of not the night of the derailment. They did not. I guess after we left, the neighbors said someone had knocked on their door, but I didn't find out till 10 o'clock, and this happened like at 9 in the evening. So that was an hour of that chemicals filling up our town before I even called. And it was closer to 11:30 when the police knocked on the door asking our neighbors to evacuate. So the air was filled. I had went a half a block up our street to look when my daughter had told me about 9:30. We kept hearing sirens but didn't know what was going on, and she said, Mom, a train derailed. Well, when I went up, it looked like all of the plants that are right down the road was on fire. The smoke was so thick and it took your breath away. I grabbed like two pictures and had to put my jacket up over my face. Um, my eyes were burning, my throat. Um, I ran back down to the house, but when you got in the house, shut the door, you couldn't smell a thing. So I was thinking it would be safer to stay in the house.
Right.
I never dreamt that we would have to leave. I know some people now say, well, you take that chance. I hear it all. Well, you take the chance when you live by a train track. We moved into that home, my mom and my father did in 1970. She brought me home from the hospital to that home. Um, and I brought my daughter home from the hospital to that home. Um, our home was everything to us. It was maybe not a lot to some, but all of my memories are wrapped up in that home that's still not fit to live in and probably never will be again. Um, the problem is we have the creek, Sulphur Run, that runs through an underground tunnel and it goes through my backyard in that tunnel. And when the creek floods, I get the creek water in my basement. So those chemicals that was on that train, as you look them up, and there's a list and you can't put it all together. Um, we waited days, weeks for a complete honest list of what we breathed in from that derailment. Um, and there's been most of those chemicals will say they cause Parkinson's. Well, she already has that. So, what does that do to somebody that already has Parkinson's? I can't find out. I'm not going to take her back to that home. I will fight using my last breath to protect my family. And they will not be back in that home because of the contamination. So,
Wow. So, this is really incredible. So, people have actually said you chose to move by train tracks and you should have expected this.
yes, I've had people, actually residents, tell me through this all because the town's become so divided. Um, they're either not having problems and doing good and want the news to go away, which basically has. But they were tired of the news stations there when President Trump had come. They were over that then. So what happened was they wanted the town back to normal and they weren't having problems. So those of us that were having problems, we wanted the media there. So
Right.
the world knew that there was issues going on and that people were in bad shape. So some of those residents had gotten very upset with us. We had a protest. Um, I was carrying a sign asking Governor DeWine and Michael Regan, which is the head of the EPA that came to my home. They say in the news caption that it was to watch them do an air test. He didn't stay in my home long at all. He didn't watch that air test. He sat there until I got him to say that he could smell a little bit of chemical, but that was a task in itself. After he acknowledged the smell of the chemical gas in the house, um, he bolted out the door, and I've not seen or heard from him since. But
Absolutely.
it's it's been a lot. Someone had got upset during that interview because I had asked, well, I had pointed out that Governor DeWine had changed his phone number when we were trying to contact him. He was speaking on behalf of the residents that everything was okay and that we were good and we were allowed back in town. And he wasn't talking to any of us. He was talking to the railroad and the EPA. So residents weren't okay. And we were trying to call him because of the conditions when we did go back into our homes. And he changed his phone number. So I had mentioned that. And then I had asked how deep they dug on the tracks because it's common sense that they wouldn't have had the train back up that quick if
Right.
they would have did it correctly like they should have. So I pointed out some things during that interview, and it took watching like 12 different versions to find it because each um, network that showed it picked, they edited parts and things, and it wasn't in its entirety. So you had to watch like 12 different versions to get some of them to show the facts. And that was mainly YouTube that did that. But after that, that is when the day President Trump was in town, and I had to go to my house to grab the mail, and there was a tongue left on my porch, on my mother's porch swing.
It was
So
a what?
a tongue, they had, it looked like a human tongue. It very much looked like a human tongue. Um, I believe it was a lamb's tongue. Yeah. So either somebody didn't like my interview and wanted me to shut up, or um, the FBI thinks it might have been someone that wanted me to blame the railroad for it and get angry because through this all, I had not been on Facebook. I hadn't been posting. It was a lot to take care of a family of six and
Yeah.
try to go into town every day to work. Um, Leave them at hotel rooms that were scattered all on the third floor. Um, Take care of dogs, get phone calls from the hotel about the dogs barking. I wasn't on Facebook a lot and I wasn't talking about the derailment. I was praying without ceasing that God would make a way for my family to get out of the hotel and be in a home. So um, the FBI kind of thinks that it was somebody wanting me to accuse the railroad, but there was other residents that got anti-Semitic flyers on their porch. There has been a lot of people that had things happen. They just have not came forward and admitted it for fear.
Wow.
So there's a lot of division in town right now. There truly is.
Wow. And I see that Norfolk Southern keeps doing these ridiculous things like having carnivals that you guys still have to pay for even if you go, or like cookouts, or you know
Mhm.
all this Easter egg hunt, all these things, and they're like right in the zone
Yeah.
where people should not be.
The Easter egg hunt was at the park where the air raiders were. Those same air raiders were what was filling up my home with the gas smell. They had one uh, right past my home on the other side of the tunnel, and it was causing all that smell to build up in the house. Um, why you would lay Easter eggs on the floor and have people try to, little kids, you want to lay them on a contaminated ground and then have the kids pick them up. It's quite disturbing. And then the carnival was free rides. You had to pay for the games and foods, but they also knew what they were doing there too, because a lot of families can't afford to take, in this day and age, can't afford to take their family for a night out. So you're offering them free ride, but they're not charging extra for the vinyl chloride that they're breathing in. And that will be determined later. And I don't think that they should use situations like that, putting kids at risk to make the town appear safe. And I
Yeah.
believe that our leaders in our town um, need to think of that too. I know they want our town back to normal. I would like that too. But the reality is I kept my family safe, went into town every day to work, and have vinyl chloride in my urine. Um, from being at work every day, breathing that in. Um, when the first 2 weeks, I had a tingling and numbness in my tongue, eyes burning. 20 minutes into my work, I would feel that. It was there. There are residents, there are carnies that was at the fair that had issues from being there. Um, I don't know. I doubt that they reported that to OSHA. They may have. I hope they did. I know a lot of that works under the table, so they're not really on the books. So they may not have OSHA's help, but the CDC should have. Um, the other companies like CTEH and HEPACO and all of them that had workers get sick, should be reporting that.
Absolutely.
God's going to bring the truth to light on this. So people really need to do the right thing and step forward now, because the cover up's going to come out. It is slowly, piece by piece. It is coming to light through prayer and God. So I I'm waiting on people to do the right thing. Now they're going to pay for our fireworks. Well, let's see.
Yeah.
You've had families from all over come in for this street fair. Um, you put them at risk. Now we're going to have a fireworks show. We're going to have this summer bash in June. There's
I'm
going to be a
not like,
lot of blood on people's hands. And I
yeah,
hope when they stand in front of God one day that they're prepared for answering for that, because they need to listen to those of us that have the proof, the test results, from physical tests on ourselves to tests in our home. Um, we're not making it up. I understand that some residents aren't having trouble. I don't think they're in denial. I think they're very blessed. I pray that 5 to 10 years from now, they're not having issues. I hope that it's just not waiting to come out. I hope they're truly blessed and they're not suffering from this. I wish that they would pray for us that are. I mean, if you're blessed enough not to be having trouble, you truly are blessed. That doesn't mean that you're in denial. So please give the residents having trouble the same respect
have
and
compassion.
and
It,
compassion and
yeah.
support. And
And
when we were at that protest, I had a woman pull up with a smile on her face, and she works at a candle shop there in town, and she looks at me smiling, and she rolls down her window, and I was waiting for her to say, "Hey, thanks," and she looks at me and she says, "You're an embarrassment to our town." That's what she
wow.
said. So responded
Oh my God.
quickly, "Yes, yes, you are." Then I realized, you know what? I'm going to pray for her. So I put on my prayer page to pray for her. She needed prayer because she does. And that's that's what everybody is going through. Mine's a mild story compared to what some of them are. But this is why residents are sending private messages to Unity Council saying that they're having issues, because they're afraid of the way those of us speaking out, getting body parts left on porches, or what an embarrassment you are, or even worse things that other people has had happen to them. They're afraid to come forward. That should not be. As a town, whether you're having problems or you're not having problems, you need to be there for each other. And
Absolutely.
no
And as
amount of money or let's bring it back bigger and better. No. Why don't you take care of the people that can't go home?
exactly.
That's where loyalty and help should be. Yes, we all want to see East Palestine pretty, but no park benches or flowers is going to help somebody that's struggling,
Yep.
wondering where they're going to sleep with their family that night or the following night. That's where the help should be. That's where the fundraisers should be. This walk that's coming into town with Jerome Bennis. No, yeah, I believe I one of the Pittsburgh Steelers is coming to walk. Why not use that money to help the residents? I know people that have slept in their cars because they can't get a hotel room because it's booked, or they don't have money to rent it to wait for reimbursement. Why
Mhm.
are we worrying about? I know the businesses are struggling. I won't say why are we worrying about that. But I believe as a Christian, if we help those in need, God's going to bless us. So if your business is struggling and you help a resident that slept in their car because they could not afford a hotel and they slept in a hotel parking lot because they're not getting help at the assistance center, or they're getting scolded or told that they're spending too much money when they go there. Why are we not addressing this in America? Why are
Absolutely.
we worrying about park benches and putting soil in a park that could make people sick? I'm still getting a water bill at my
Oh
home,
my
at my
God.
mother's home, of $50 every month just to keep it on. That's a flat rate. But it was no water used since February 6th because we did think we could go home and clean and get back in. So we did use a little bit of water. February 6th was the last recorded, and it wasn't, our water bill was $79 in March. When I had complained about it, it finally dropped in April down to $50 flat rate. Um, there were people on our council that wanted to shut off or give water shut off notices. They were charging for you not being at your home. In a not an abandoned home, but I forget what they use, what how the wording was, an occupied home, that they wanted to fine them for that. And that is evil. There is no other way to say that. Your home, it's weird. My neighbor's home right beside me, they're not complaining of any issues. He works in factories around chemicals and plants. So, like I said, some homes are different. Ours is different. Ours is built in 1930. It's got that sandstone foundation. It's cedar lap siding that is older than I am. Um, it's each house has their own unique story with it and problems with it. So
I think
you
that's
can't, you've got to let them, each case is different. Each person
yeah.
is.
And I think that's one of the most heartbreaking things that someone would dare have the audacity to say that to you, because every single person I talk to in East Palestine knows every other person. So you
Yes.
know who they are. They know who you are, and they would still be that ugly. And I can assure you, every single person I talk to, I have 25,000 followers on Twitter. The only people I ever talk to about East Palestine, the only embarrassment that East Palestine has is the government. None of you are the embarrassment. I can guarantee
Well,
that.
thank you. Thank you
That
so
is for
much.
sure.
There's some hard days. There's some days where you just don't want to even get up and fight. You go through a depression with this. At times, it's a wave of depression, and you think that you just can't push on anymore, but you get your strength back. There's days where we'll just call each other up and cry. It seems like Ashley, someone helping and talking, she'll have a stronger day and I'll have a breakdown. Then Lonnie will have one, and we just thank God that we're not all having those bad days at once,
At once.
because then we have the strength to lift each other up. Jamie and I, we've all had them. It's just really rough, and those that we thought would support us and understand, because they're living that nightmare with us, when it comes to them, it's pouring salt into that wound. You
Yeah.
have the EPA, which has lied repeatedly. Um, I was naive in the beginning for about the first 2 days of it, thinking they may help us. Um, then you learn of Flint and some of their other wonderful work they've done. And you realize that our government is not for us, whether it's local, state, federal. Um, it's lie after lie after lie. Um, I could expect this from the railroad,
Yeah.
um, but they've actually been more honest to me than the EPA has. They've told me, get rid of anything of fabric in your home. Um, I've got the EPA saying, well, you may qualify for special cleaning. Um, no, the water's contaminated. It's going to be for probably the next 100 years. Um, there's no way a family can move back into a home that creek floods. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen. And then they're like, well, you know, they may do a cleaning. Well, you may go live there with your family and let me
Yep.
know in a year. And that goes to Alan Shaw, Michael
Yep.
Reagan, um, and Governor DeWine.
And
Take your family to your house.
what's the guy's name who just yelled at Jamie? Because I want to give him a shout out
Oh,
too.
yes, Bill Johnson, Congressman. Yeah,
Yes.
he was in my home. I actually grabbed him the day Michael Reagan was coming, because he wanted to bring a reporter, um, and I had already dealt with the EPA and CTEH lying on my air test results. I had a solid 2 and a solid 2-3, and my test results were 1, not because of the air tester. She called her supervisor. They made her put that down, I believe. I don't know 100%, but I believe, because it was like, yes, yes, but sulfur run. And then she had to yell at the EPA guy to say what the results were. So I kind of knew the EPA wasn't there to help me. Um, I was on the wrong team. They're not helping the losing team right now. So when Michael Reagan's press secretary wanted to know if it was okay to bring a news camera, I thought, okay, I grabbed my pastor and our church secretary to come in, because I wanted somebody there that was, I mean, a pastor's not going to lie. So I wanted a witness that was more of a respectable, to see if there was results, because I had my daughter there for our results, and I was Facebook living it, and I just wanted proof. So I seen Sherrod Brown and Bill Johnson in the alley by the creek, and they had all the news cameras in front of them, and then they had the police have a the beginning of the alley blocked off. But growing up there, I knew a shortcut, so I cut up in between the houses and came up behind them, and I grabbed onto Sherrod Brown's arm, and one of his guys is like, no, you can't. He's doing an interview. I'm like, no, I need them in my house in 5 minutes. I have Michael Regan coming and I need them there. So Michael came in, and behind him was the senator and the congressman. They actually did listen. He told them and they came. Well, we were sitting in our house and Bill Johnson, I said, okay, I need everyone that can acknowledge, can you smell a chemical gas? He was the first one to say yes. Sharon Brown, yes. The news reporter from the Morning Journal, yes. Fox News, the one recording it, he admitted he could smell it. I looked at Michael Regan and he says, I can a little bit. But at least he acknowledged it. You have to watch 12 different videos from him editing it out, but he did acknowledge it. So, yeah, any of them that want to stay, that thinks my home's safe and thinks it's okay for me to take my family back, I want them to do 6 months to a year in my home with their family. And then if they're doing okay, I'll consider it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of the carnival and Easter egg hunt and all of those, ridiculous back to normal things. I know that there was one woman who raised about $70,000 of people giving donations for East Palestinians, and then donated it to the project, if you want to call it that is putting on those things and doing the
Mhm.
playground over and such, because her mother sits on the council. So
Yeah.
I just want people to understand, do not give any money to anyone unless they were going to show receipts, because
Yeah.
our organization shows receipts for literally
Yeah.
every single penny. And
Yeah.
you are donating out of the kindness of your heart. And these people do not have good intentions. So Jamie told me that you guys all found out about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I even addressed the head of that East Palestine Foundation, whatever the name is. I asked over Facebook last night if they're going to help any of the residents. There's small businesses that are still struggling. Um, I know some of them did get help, but I really think if you're going to help one business, you help them all, even if they're not one that you may not like the person that owns that business. That doesn't matter. If you're going to help businesses, help them all. Um, but if you help the residents with their homes, that's going to build your business up, because
Absolutely.
that's going to be where your blessings come. Um, those of us that aren't safe, we may never be able to live in Palestine again. That's not by choice. That's by wanting to remain healthy and not wanting to bury a family member sooner than what we have to. So, East Palestine can be in your heart, and you may not get to live there anymore. That doesn't mean that you should not get help. That doesn't mean that you're just walking away from the town. Um, this wasn't when they say, well, if you don't like it, just leave. Oh, if you're fearing for your health, just leave. These are people's lives. Um, our home is not valued at enough to buy a home for 6 people. Um, my 82-year-old mother shouldn't have to mortgage her home. She owned that one. Um, that needs to be addressed. I am told that come July, September, when the final findings are in, that I'm the first one the railroad will talk to about what happens next. Um, you know the water's going to be contaminated. You know it's not safe. Why make a family wait? Um, we spent 32 days in a hotel, and due to my mother's health and not being able to walk enough in that hotel because they couldn't work the hotel key, they wouldn't leave the room. I had to go back to work. She was walking 5 feet a day. That made, like, I was seeing the Parkinson's start to take
Yeah.
effect over her. Neck started leaning more, things like that. Her movement was slowing down. Those people have to keep using those muscles or they will lose them. So
Yeah.
I called every day and I'm like, I have to get my family into a home again. Um, they did. They worked with me. They found a home. They had a realtor find one and they rented it, but they can't tell me how long. My the gentleman that it's almost like a case manager or whatever that handles my case with the railroad was told he's not allowed to tell me how long they're renting the home for.
So you
Um,
literally could get told tomorrow,
yeah,
move out
yeah.
by the weekend.
And I said to him, I said, what happens if you call and say, you got to leave tomorrow and put your furniture in storage? Because I wasn't allowed to take my furniture. They gave me a furniture expense that I had to try, and it was not enough. I mean, my home was two homes in one. I had the complete upstairs with a kitchen, living room, bathroom, bedrooms. My mother had that downstairs. It was a duplex. You could get into the house from the upstairs or through an inside. I could go downstairs through an inside staircase. It was a perfect home for us with two families where she had her privacy and I had mine. Um, I couldn't get anything that I had because I had to get things for her. So we have one kitchen now instead of two, but what happens, later on, because I'm not allowed to use any of my stuff, they told me to throw it away. So, I mean, that's really hard to throw things away. I'm one
Yeah.
that has the handprints that my daughter, she's 20, that she made in preschool, and I still hung them on my tree. I mean, I saved things. I had a love seat that my great grandmother gave to my grandma, and then I got it when my grandma passed away, soaked in chemical. There's no price tag for that.
Yeah.
My mom had a cupboard that her sister, when her sister's husband was in the service, it was bought in Germany and they shipped it back when they came back. Um, when my aunt passed away, my mom got that. Um, it's sitting in that house. You can't buy another one. It's not the same. And for everything that we went through, I'm grateful that we have each other. And I'm learning that home is in your heart. And as long as you're all together, it's all you need. I go back and forth. My dad passed away in that house. His clothes sat there that he was going to wear the next day. It's been 9 years that I could never get rid of them. Now, if you go into that home, you get sick. You get sick 10 minutes of being in it, and they want to talk to me about cleaning it. Yeah, I would love to be able to clean it and go back, but there's no way it's safe. I had to break that to my mom. Every day at the hotel, she would say, "Did you talk to the EPA? Can we go home yet?" And I knew that we weren't going to be able to go home. But I couldn't tell her that.
Yeah.
This is so far from being over, and to have fireworks and cookouts and street fairs and Easter egg hunts, and to discredit people that are going through this, that's heartless.
It is.
My sister's stuck in that town and her family, and they feel the effects. And there's so many families that are sick, and it's not fair. And they quit digging up the bird pit during the street fair because, don't want any outsiders to get sick. And I don't want them to get sick either. But guess what? I don't want the people stuck there to get sick. They should matter. The EPA is horrible, and it's criminal what they're allowed, what they're doing, how they're lying. They know, they've said during the meeting that they knew the air testing wasn't right. We have Mark Durno recorded telling us that. Air testing's still not fixed. It's still not right. That is criminal.
It is. It's
They
violence.
have our blood on their hands.
They do. Absolutely. I highly doubt they're watching, but let's say the EPA is watching. What's your message to them? Well, my
How
message
do
is
you-
fuck you, but what's your
My message is how are you going to explain this to God one day? Maybe you don't believe in him. Okay, maybe he's not real and you're going to be just fine and there's nothing else out there. But if I'm right and you got to stand in front of him, he's going to touch your eyes, your forehead, and you're going to feel everything that you have allowed them to make us feel. Are you going to be ready for that? Because you're going to feel what each of us have felt when you stand in front of judgment one day. So I really hope you've dealt with that. You need to listen to your heart and not what you're being told or who's, basically they're bought out. It's the railroad and the government's hand in hand. So it's more, like I said, when the railroad's being more honest with you and fair to you than the EPA, there's something wrong. Biden that didn't come, I won't even comment on that.
Well, I mean, I have my opinion as though I think he's just waiting for it to so-called go away because it's already been over 4 months. And I feel like if he was going to come, he would have done it already. Don't you think?
Yeah. I think I don't know, maybe they thought they would have to, maybe he felt like if he came, he would have to do something. I don't know. I don't know why, because I never dreamt that somebody would be going through this. I thought we lived in the greatest country there was and that we would be protected and helped. And Governor DeWine still hasn't signed that. He said he was going to.
The state of emergency?
Yeah.
When does he have to sign that?
He's had that. What was that?
When isn't there a deadline for when he has to sign that by?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like in a few days, I believe.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. He said that it was on his desk and he was going to get to it. Like I said, if he cared, he would have talked to the residents, not changed his phone number. Who does that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then he scolds people that asks him the hard question or bashes the EPA. He scolds them. He lives like, well, we seen how he did with COVID.
Right.
How many people died because they gave up in the nursing homes, uh, feeling abandoned. And yet he's telling you if you hug grandma, you're going to kill her. But yet he goes out of state to his daughter's wedding, no mask, hugging, pictures all leaked everywhere as he locked us down so strictly in Ohio. And then it was okay for him and his family to sneak. It was either Indiana, it was one of the states surrounding us that she got married in. And yeah. So, I mean, he got elected after that again, but this is pretty bad.
It's awful. Have people been talking to you about 1881A?
No.
Okay, so there's actually, don't get me started on Obamacare, but there's a clause in Obamacare 1881A that states that if there is a environmental disaster, that everybody in that area gets 100% free healthcare, free. Point of service, free. That would include your tests. That would include therapy. That would include your doctor appointments, literally free. And there is a city and state that has that right now. So honestly, DeWine, your governor, the president, anybody could say, you know what? I'm going to enact 1881A, and everyone in East Palestine and surrounding areas has 100% free coverage. And that's it. Go to all the doctors you need. Don't worry about
what
a bill.
What a blessing that would be.
And they have that ability. That's what's frustrating because, and that's one of the reasons we're coming there is to share information about how that would work and everything, and to demand that they do that because
they definitely need to do that. They definitely need to do that. It's about enough where they're lab rats.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is what it is. We've been dealt that card, and that we can't go back in time and change. So moving forward, yeah, that would be a big relief and a big help to a lot of people.
Yeah. And I know I posted it yesterday. I saw it yesterday, but a few days ago, you were in an article talking about how the mental health issue in East Palestine is understandably off the charts. I've talked to people who have PTSD. So having 1881A means people could get counseling and they could get, I mean, I've been told that people are going through divorce because some people want to go back to normal, and some people, I mean, then they could go to counseling, and
so many have lost so much. I've seen relationships fall apart of people that I never thought would. There has been such a rape. We were all raped our lives. And now you have to go and beg the rapist for help. You're judged. There is so much evil and so many people struggling and their lives falling apart and forever changed. And the division, even when it's in their own home, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's truly heartbreaking. And you're still hoping that somebody's going to come in and help.
Absolutely. And that's why I want to tell every single person watching it, and I know I say this all the time, but it is our responsibility to keep this story going. If you see someone talking about it on social media, share it. When you are at dinner with your families, talk about it. This needs to go on because change is not going to happen by ignoring this. And this is not going to be an isolated incident because they are doing nothing to help it. And if we just keep standing by, this is going to happen in more and more places, and there is no precedent set. So this is our responsibility too. This is not just an East Palestine thing. So I thank you all who are watching, who I know I see some avies of some people who are helping with the march and the mutual aid that we're doing next month. So yes, this is our duty as humanitarians, or healthcare activists, or any of us, anyone with a conscience or anyone with empathy. This is our responsibility to continue sharing these stories. And honestly, shame on anyone who has a platform and is not talking about this.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you so much for reaching out to us and for letting us tell our stories.
Absolutely. If there's one thing you want the viewers to take away from this, what do you want to leave them with?
Reach out to your government. Ask them to help East Palestine. Reach out about our healthcare. If you can go to these places, even if you have to call Columbus, Lisbon, just please get a hold of your politicians. Hold them accountable to make a change. Don't let them forget about it and sweep it under the rug. And please continue to pray for all of us. I believe in the power of prayer. We really need it.
Thank you so much, Krissy. You are
Thank you.
Amazing. And you guys, Krissy is going to be speaking at our rally. I'm so excited. I can't wait to give you a big hug.
I can't wait to get a big hug.
I'm just like this, covering East Palestine has changed my life. Like it really has. And I just feel such a connection to so many of you in that community. And I just cannot wait to come there and be with you guys and help you guys and support you guys and do.
Thank you.
Use me. I will do whatever you need. Just use me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And you guys, if you did want to donate to help us with cases of water, and we're also bringing groceries to help people out to the rally as well. There's a lot of families, so we're going to get things like, boxes of cereal, granola bars, peanut butter, like non-perishables that we can just hand out to people and help them out that way as well. So if you'd like to donate, you can go to m4all.org. Jenna, can you type that in the comments so people can click? As I was saying at the beginning of the episode, every $5 buys an entire case of water, and we are renting a U-Haul. So we need a whole lot of water. So we're making it worth it. We're doing a load Friday and a load Saturday. So we want to fill that baby up. So anything you can give.
Thank you.
No question. Thank you so much, Krissy.
Thank you
guys for tuning in as well. Absolutely.
And I will see you, and I will hug you as soon as I see you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.